Hello, welcome to the James Cooley Show. It's your life. I'm your host, Dr. James J.C. Cooley, and wow, we got an absolute wonderful show coming your way today. We're going to talk about a topic that I think is so dear to all of us, especially our young folks, because our young folks are going to be our future leaders of tomorrow. And it's up to us. I wouldn't say that we are old or anything like that, but I would say it's up to us to be able to guide, lead them, mentor them, and make sure that they have the strongest possible foundation, for growth, and so that they will be ready to take on the challenges of tomorrow. But I tell you what, before we do this, I want to lock the radio station, television, live streaming platforms, every platform in at the same time. So, Toddy, let's do it.
It's Your Life is sponsored by James J.C. Cooley.
Life is a series of circles and cycles, phases and stages. These are your experiences that teach you the lessons of life. You can either ignore them or embrace them. Welcome to the James Cooley Show. It's Your Life. James is a motivational speaker, author, military veteran, and founder of the James Cooley Foundation. James is here to equip you to strive for greatness and to overcome adversity. It's time to get equipped today for the challenges of tomorrow. Now, here's the host of It's Your Life, James Cooley.
Hello, welcome to the James Cooley Show. It's Your Life. I'm your host, Dr. James J.C. Cooley. And wow, hey Todd, man, we got a major show coming your way today.
Yeah, I can't wait for it. It's going to be exciting about mentorship. We all can either be a mentor or need one in our life right now.
I think we all have to have a mentor, have been a mentor, and want to mentor others. But most importantly, Todd, I believe that our future leaders of tomorrow, or our young folks, and that we that been here for a while, that we know the rope, and hopefully we're doing the right things, that we can step up and we can guide them, we can mentor, we can show them, we can lead them, and we can also help them build the biggest foundation that they can, because as long as you got a great foundation, it's all about growth. It's all about growth. So I tell you, I'm looking forward to this show today, but I can't even start the show without my executive producer and co-host, Dr. Michelle Cooley. How are you doing today, Michelle?
I am doing great. I'm really excited about this topic today because it's really so important. Why is mentorship so important? But it's going to be an amazing topic, and we have amazing guests to contribute to the show as well.
We got a super amazing guest, and this guy right here, I tell you, haven't been knowing him a long time, but seems like I've been knowing him forever. And you can just tell just by every time you chat with him, every time you talk with him, that mentorship is down his alley. He have done it probably millions and millions of times and continue to do it today. So, Michelle, I'm excited about today's show. So can you tell our viewers, our listeners, the title of the show, purpose of the show, and introduce this absolutely wonderful guest that we got on?
Oh, most definitely. So today's topic is, why is mentorship so important? And we're going to have a sit-down discussion about this topic with management and business consultant Tim Grant, and the importance of being a mentor, the pillars of mentorship, and the different types of mentorship. So Tim Grant, our guest, he's been on the show before, graduated UCLA with a degree in economics, earned his MBA from Pepperdine University, Presidential Key Executive Program, and has a Juris Doctor from Western State College of Law. He spent the bulk of his career running businesses ranging from small private companies to public held corporations in distribution and manufacturing. His efforts frequently involved turnarounds and managing strategic growth. He also ran mergers and acquisitions globally for Avnet Inc. He's been featured on CNN, MSNBC, Forbes Financial News Network, and ESPN. Please welcome back to the show, Mr. Tim Grant.
Thank you, Michelle. Thank you, James.
Hey, man, it's always a pleasure having you on, man. You know that.
Yeah. Well, I just love your show because, how can you argue with It's Your Life in a program that's all devoted to personal growth, development, betterment, and encouragement. I mean, that we don't get enough of that. And so it's if I'm not on as a guest, I love signing in as a audience member. So it's good to be here.
Wow, Tim. So it's important that we all understand that we have to create a foundation. We have to create an environment. We have to create a world for our youth and our young adults and future generations to come. And by doing that, we have to utilize the necessary skills and experiences that we have attained during our lifetime. Can you tell our viewers and our listeners, why is mentorship so important?
Well, I think from the, if you look, as Michelle alluded to, right, she always picks great topics, and today's no exception. But the various forms of mentorship and the forms that mentorship can take, right? If you're lucky enough to get hired into an organization and you happen to be mentored by the person that you're going to work for, who was part of the interview process, then maybe your direct, boss becomes your mentor, hopefully. And if not, you find a peer, or the organization provides a peer mentor to help you as you come into a new organization. Maybe it's your first time in the industry. Maybe you've been recruited from a competitor, and you rely on a mentor in the organization, maybe a peer, maybe somebody higher up the org chart, but somebody that can help you acclimate to the culture, right? Because you were most likely hired because you understand and fit the skill set that your now new employer was looking for, right? That's the easy part. The harder part is, how do you get acclimated to the new corporate culture, that you're moving into, right? And again, you may come from the same industry, but there may be a big difference between GM and Ford, or between, pick somebody, right? So, that's certainly, I think, to answer your question directly, I think that because of the corporate culture and understanding the values of the organization and really how they do the business that you've entered, I think is really key in it. And I've seen careers, take off, and I've seen careers stall out for lack of a mentor, coming into a new organization, or coming into an organization for the first time, or maybe even the same organization, but a different job title, or a different part of the business. So I think it's really important.
So Tim, that I believe that a mentor should have certain characteristics and need to understand certain rules and regulations in order to lead, in order to guide someone else, or guide his organization or people.
Right.
What are some of the roles and responsibilities that do you believe that a great mentor must possess?
Well, I think the mentor ought to be demonstrating and have demonstrated in their own career and their own approach to their job, right? To have the credibility, to be able to then mentor somebody else, right? And I think that certainly competence in your own, your own function, and and confidence in your own skill set and your position in the organization, I think is certainly a requirement, for a lot of reasons. I mean, we discussed, I just mentioned the credibility, but also to be able to undertake a role, and going back to this point of the various types of mentorship, right? Maybe it's peer, maybe it's your supervisor, as we alluded to. Maybe it's somebody else outside of an organization. Maybe you're fortunate enough to have somebody in your family, or somebody else that that you can go to and help talk through some of the issues that you encounter, in a new organization, or a new career, or vocation, that can help show someone the ropes. I think you've certainly got to be able to understand the importance of it. And I think it's really a good idea, if you've already had a mentor yourself, and as you grow in your career, you certainly can lean on those instances in the past where you remember attributes of someone that was fortunate enough that you were able to go to as a mentor, and you can pick and choose the best pieces and the different aspects, very much like a coach, right? We all remember, I still remember lessons I learned from, junior high and high school and college on, in coaching. and they're all important. And you can borrow from those to be able to be the best coach. But I think listening is a real key component. What is the person you're mentoring, as opposed to just, being in a unilateral conversation where you're lecturing or talking to them, making sure that you take the time to listen more about what challenges, they're facing, and how you can tailor, what they're asking for to the need.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Because, you mentioned something that's so important, just like leadership. In order to be able to lead effectively, you have to have been led. And that means that you have to be a follower. I know that I have been a part of organizations where, as a young man, I did not know which direction to go in. And there always seemed to be someone that step up and just start guiding you. And but it takes a while for us to get confidence in them, I'm talking fully confidence in them, where we know that they got our back. We have to demonstrate that we got your back,
Right.
that you're an important piece of the organization. And if you're going to, as you gain experience, where you're going to be in the same chair that I'm in one day leading. So I think that's so important right there. I
Right.
tell you, we got to take a station break, but we're going to come back and we're going to pick it up. We're going to continue to talk about mentorship. And if you want to be part of this conversation, regardless of which platform that you might be watching this on, all you have to do is just pick up the phone. If you're on the radio and want to call radio, 1-866-577-2473, or go to the platform that you're on. Ask in the comments portion, ask any questions that you might have. I promise you, we'll get you an answer. It's your life, and we'll see you shortly after the break.
There's more stories of greatness to
really get a chance to know who you are. And once you know who you are, you truly know who you are, love who you are. Love who you are. You're a masterpiece. Love who you are. Love who you were born to be. Love me some me. That's what I'm talking about. When you leave high school, you gotta know today or tomorrow, or hopefully today, what your plans are. Hopefully, there is no bad decision unless there is no plan. Create, collaborate, commit with confidence. Commit with what? Commit with what? In everything that you do.
Hello, welcome back to the James Cooley Show. It's your life. I tell you, this absolutely fantastic guest, Tim Grant. Every time he's on the show, he just bring it. He's always kind of like an encyclopedia, kind of like a book of knowledge, kind of like all of these great things wrapped up into one. And today we're talking about mentorship. And I tell you, this young man right here had mentored a lot of folks in corporate world, and not just corporate, but just in life in general. And just like I mentioned, there's characteristics that we all must have in order to be a mentor. We have to have leadership ability. We have to be honest. We have to be straightforward. We have to be direct. And we have to be able to understand the people that we're leading. What are your thoughts on that, Michelle?
No, I definitely think that's important. Everyone can't be a mentor. Right? I'm just, really. But let me go back with that. There are people like myself. I don't want to hear like the whole 20-minute speech. I want you to get to the point. Now, my personality and the way I may mentor somebody, by that person, the receiver, the mentee may not, gravitate toward my style of mentorship. But you might have someone else who's just like me in that train of thought. There are people who are very long-winded, and that's okay. Maybe the person they need to mentor is receptive to the long-windedness. Am I making sense? Am I making sense, Tim?
No, I think you are. I see where you're going with that.
Yeah. So I wouldn't say everyone can't be a mentor, but you have to know what your leadership style is. And with that being said, how does one decide, okay, I want to be a mentor, but that is such a generic term. How does one decide what is the best fit for them or area in their life to be a mentor? It could be business. It could be mentoring children. It could be mentoring, adults. It could be anything. So how do you figure one decides on what area specifically they need to be a mentor?
Well, I think if you look at different organizations, right? So you had Pastor Pierce on, right? So maybe you're a spiritual mentor, right? And you're in, and that's part of your job function or part of what you appreciate about the calling that you undertook to be a pastor, or a youth minister, or a coach, or sometimes, James, I'm sure we could get you talking about your time in uniform as an officer, and you had a detailer, right? And that was a person the organization assigned to you, right, to help you navigate the steps in your career, depending on where you wanted to go, in your case as a line officer or with a technical specialty, what were the next steps for you to build your career, to position you to go as far as you may want to go, right, in that organization. So, sometimes, Michelle, I think the answer to the question is the organization assigns you that role. Sometimes you have, your self-interest in the person you hired that you're going to be mentoring directly, right? Mm-hmm. Or other times you find that, maybe you're at a different stage of your career, and maybe it's post, the active part of your career, and you just enjoy working with, other people and helping them maybe learn some lessons from your experience, maybe avoid some problems, and pitfalls that you encountered along the way. I think it's really whether you're drawn to it, because as you alluded to, Michelle, not only are there different styles, but there may be some people, it's like being a teacher, right? There are some people that may not be very comfortable in that role for one reason or another. But if you're drawn to it, I think that, as a parent, we hope we get the chance to mentor our own kids, right? But sometimes it's somebody else. Yeah, I think that's an interesting point. I think mentors are, when if you want to be one, I think is the answer to that question.
Thank you. And, setting realistic goals for your mentee is really important. So do you agree that if you're mentoring somebody, yes, you really need to know what their goals are. You really need to know what their what do they want to see? What do they want to get from the specific relationship, you as a mentor, and what path do you want to be on? Why is it important not to have your goals, maybe subconsciously, applied to your mentee? If they're looking to do something this way, you're like, no, I think you'll be great doing it this way. But maybe that's your goals for them, but that's not their goals. How important is to make sure that their goals are, number one, realistic, and that you don't have your goals and apply it to them?
Wow. I mean, as usual, Michelle, that's a great question. And I think that's a real key point because, you know, early on in my efforts to mentor, right, I found myself exactly crossing that line, right, taking my goals and what I wanted out of a particular organization, right, and the organization always is very careful to make sure that it's getting, you know, from you what it wants, right, that you know, that'll take care of itself. But I think that's a key point, not necessarily superimposing your goals and your ambitions or your approach on someone. But, you know, I think if you know the person you're mentoring well enough and you know the organization that you're both now in, right, then I think it's a lot easier to be able to direct that person. And I found, you know, in my experiences in mentoring, it wasn't so much the job. I really come back to this issue of culture and personalities, right? Because now someone's in a new position, perhaps a new organization, perhaps just another side of the same organization. And listening and helping them resolve their conflicts as they either work with people or report above and come in contact with people higher up the organization. And I think that's really, really key to be able to listen to what they're challenged with and what their concerns are, to advise them or suggest different approaches or different things they may do. And I think it's also important to be able at some point to realize, to hand off to another person that now is more relevant to the mentee, as you put it, you know, in their next step in their journey. Maybe in certain situations, we only have someone for a period of time, you know, that the organization has asked us to mentor, either as a peer or what have you, and then be able to prepare that person to transition and find another mentor in the organization that they can relate to, or perhaps can be more effective with them in that new challenge that they're undertaking.
Now, realistic goals is very important. How, what recommendations if the audience, if there's someone who's mentoring somebody, whether it's business, let's say business, and your mentee, spending time with them, you realize, you know what, they really don't have that oomph to be in that particular role. They have the skill set and the qualities to be in another role, but how do you sensitively kind of just be honest and say, wow, this person is sharp, they're ambitious, but they're reaching for something that obviously is not for them. How do you tell them and be honest with them regarding what their goals are and suggest, hey, have you tried looking at that?
Let me answer that question. Okay, and I use a scenario. Well, I was on the USS Blue Ridge, probably the second most powerful ship in the Navy, and I was the chief. And I was just new getting there, and I had probably about 200 and something folks that were working for me. The leaders that were working for me, we call them first class petty officers. They were sharp in a sense, but they was out of place, meaning that they was in the wrong jobs. And the captain of the ship and the XO of the ship, especially XO, I said, Chief 𝐂𝐓, it's time for you to, time out, Chief. We want you to come in. We want you to fix this. We want you to do this and do that. I said, sir, can you give me like a month or two to observe? Just so happened we had the other chief that was still on board. And so I had an opportunity to sit back, watch everybody work, operate this and that. And I understood immediately that these people that was in these leadership positions was, I'm not saying they should not be in leadership position, but they was in the wrong leadership position. So what I did, I had about 13 first classes. I brought them all, when I took over, XO told me to fix, I brought them all up to my stateroom. And I see Todd tell me I got to take a break. But I said, hey, we got to have to make some changes here. And without giving away anything right now, I'm going to pick this story up when I come back, because we only got a minute before I got to go to the break. But we're going to pick it up, and I'm going to tell you what I did, because in this, from a mentorship perspective, sometimes you have to make a tough decision. Sometimes you have to make a hard decision. Sometimes you make decisions that's going to hurt, but it's in the best interest of the organization, the best interest for your people you have to train. So when I come back from the commercial break, we're going to pick it up, and I'm going to finish explaining this story. So if you want to be part of the conversation, all you have to do is dial 1-866-577-2473, or go to the platform that you're watching this on, ask any question that you might have. I promise you, Tim Grant and I will get you an answer. It's your life, and we'll see you shortly after the break.
There's more stories of greatness to help you overcome adversity coming up on It's Your Life with James 𝐂𝐓.
There's much truth in a journey that ain't over yet, as all of us journey through life's precious gift of time, just like I have.
I've seen a smile convey I love you. I'm proud of who you are, and one that keeps us close when we're apart. Talking from the darkness of all that we've been through, it seems that there might be a way to leave behind the loneliness we've known and live again life of unity.
Hello, I'm Dr. James 𝐂𝐓 from the United States of America, and I am here to just say, first of all, I'm so happy and honored to be in the Coffee Book 2023, Unified Brain Z and the other organizations. Thank you so much for giving me an opportunity to be a part of this collection. Hello, welcome back to the James 𝐂𝐓 Show. It's Your Life. I tell you, got caught up in time with that last question that I was answering. I'm gonna finish it up. So I'll tell you what. We're talking about mentorship. We got my main man, Tim Grant here. We got Dr. Michelle 𝐂𝐓. That's also here. And mentorship means so much to me because I had some great mentors that formulate my thoughts and led me to be where I'm at today. And without all of those mentors and the lessons learned that I experienced, and all the times wasn't tough, all the time wasn't good, all of them wasn't bad. I tell you, it's just a learning experience, and we grow as we mature, as we season, and sometimes it takes great leaders that we look up to and that we pour from. I mean, so if you want to be part of the conversation, then again, that's 1-866-577-2473, or go to the platform that you're on and ask any questions that you might have. Hey, Tim, I was in the middle of telling the story when I first reported aboard Blue Ridge, USS Blue Ridge, which is a command and control ship. There's only two in the whole Navy. We got one on the West Coast, and we got one on the East Coast, which is the Mount Whitney. And we had some problems on our ship, and the captain and the XO asked me to fix it, especially in the radio shack is what we call it, the comms IT, where all the things happen out of there because you have to be able to communicate. And so we had, we call leading petty officers, petty officer or this and that and all that, that's in charge of all the different squadrons. But I noticed, and I asked the XO to give me a month to observe. And he granted me that month to observe because he said, well, I want you to fix the problem. So anyway, after that month, I noticed that we had some good petty officers aboard, on board that worked for me, but they was in the wrong position. And things were not getting done. And on the flagship, everybody come on the flagship. I'm talking about from the president all the way down. So it's gotta be right. Long and short story, I called everybody to my stateroom, all of my leading petty officers, and I said, "You guys are not doing your job. I've just been sitting back here for the last month or so checking you all out." I said, "You know what? I'm firing all of you all. Every last one of you are fired." They looked at me, and so what they did was they said, "Well, we're gonna go tell the XO. Go ahead on." So they went and told to the XO. XO called me up and said, "Chief 𝐂𝐓, you might want to come to my stateroom. I got some people that you might want to see." So I went up there. All of them was in his office, right? And I walked in. I said, "Yes, sir." He says, "Chief, they told me that you just fired him." I said, "Yes, sir, I did. Every last one of them." He looked at me and started laughing and turned around and looked at them and said, "The reason he fired you guys because I told him to do it." He said, "So now, if you guys got a bigger problem." He said, and I looked at him. I looked at all of them. I said, I want everybody on the flight deck. I'll be there in 10 minutes. They left out of there. XO laughing and said, "Sir." So long and short of story, like I said, mentorship. I went up there and I told him after watching him, I said, "Okay, your strong point is here. You're going to be this. Your strong point is here. You're going to be there. Your strong point is here." And I put them in the positions that I thought that they would excel in. And not just excel but come together as a team. And in about 3 months, man, our shack, man, we was on track. XOCO and everybody was happy, including them. So that's what I mean by sometimes we have to make the tough decision as a leader, as a mentor. Firing them does not mean that they're not going to have a job. Putting them in the right position so the team, everybody can win. What are your thoughts on that, Tim?
Well, James, I think that raises an interesting point, because sometimes in that case, you know, if you're the mentee, sometimes your mentor may or may not be your direct boss, right? For just the reasons you mentioned, right? Because whether you're in a leadership position as you were, you know, relative to the story you just told, it's not unlike being a coach, right? You've got a bunch of different resources, and some are in the game, some are on the bench, and you're watching this dynamic of a game play out. And it's up to the, you know, offensive line or defensive line or quarterback coach or what have you, right? To borrow a sports analogy, to know when to play, when to pull, when to move people around. That's the job of leadership. That is management, right? I mean, management's a verb. It implies, you know, action, right? And I think that's why some people in an organization, you know, are wise to find someone other than their direct report, maybe in the organization, maybe outside, that can coach them. And to Michelle's point, that, you know, if you're really lucky, you found somebody in the organization that may not be your direct boss, that is well thought of in the organization, so that if you have that candid conversation that Michelle was alluding to about, or you were alluding to just now, about maybe you've got a good resource and a talented person, but they're in the wrong spot, that you're hopefully well enough thought of in the analogy you raised, right, and go into the exo. But, you know, in a civilian analogy, that the person that you're mentoring, you know, is well thought of enough in the organization to be able to help you move from a different part to where you may have a better fit, right? And somebody that has a big, broad perspective of the organization and has the best interest of the organization in mind, that is willing to make that phone call or say, you know what, you're just not in the right spot. And there's no harm to that. That may be a very, you know, that may be a great way to retain that person in the organization by helping them transition to where they're going to be happier and thought more of, right? And be more valuable to themselves and to the organization.
Yeah, yeah. So you just mentioned a couple of great things in there. You mentioned coach. You mentioned kind of like chaplain, and sometimes, you know, you umpire. My theory, a lot of times I'm speaking, I call it the CCU theory. You know, with your personnel, with your people, with whoever, whatever that might mean. Sometimes, you know, we have to always lead by example, but we have to sometimes help them figure out certain things other than going and doing it yourself. As coming up from an enlisted guy, switching over to an officer side, or from a technical perspective, I knew how to do everything that was in there that they have to learn how to do. I had already been through it, so I already knew it. And so I could walk into a Radio Shack and look and see what the problem is immediately. If it wasn't damaging the ship, if it wasn't damaging, you know, main things, I try to. Sometimes you have to be a coach, you know, instead of just going all off and just running and fixing things. You have to teach, so you have to coach them. So, well, you know, this is not a through circuit meaning in Radio Shack. You know, it's you got the plug in the wrong place. Can, you know, they look at them and show it to them, and they pull it and say, now check it out. You just coach them. Yeah, coach them into the right thing, and then they're gonna remember that.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes, as a leader, as a mentor, you have to be a coach.
Absolutely.
Sometimes, you know, people, your people that you're gonna come across, sometimes the only thing they want to do is be heard, right? They come in, sir, can I talk to you? Can I chat with you for a second or so? Boom, 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 boom. What I normally do, I sit back and just listen to them. Sometimes they finish, they get up. I didn't have to say a word. They walk out. The problem is solved. Sometimes, Tim, you have to be that umpire.
Oh, yeah.
You have to call balls and strikes, right?
Yep.
you have to call balls and strikes, and sometimes your peak might be out of line, and you have to be strong enough, but not a mean person where you are going to degrade them, but you have to just say, you're out of line, you're over bounds, you're out. Out meaning that let's get back on focus. Let's get back in focus, and let's concentrate on doing the right thing. So a mentor and a leader have to be able to blend and mix those three things: coaching, chaplain, being heard, and sometimes umpire. I know we got to take a station break again. I mean, this is good, Tim. This is good. So, hey, Todd is telling me that we had to take a break, and I tell you what, if you want to be part of the conversation, all you have to do is pick up the phone 1-866-577-2473, or go to the platform that you own. Ask any question that you might have. Ask any question that you might have. I promise you, we'll get you an answer. It's your life. And we'll see you shortly after the break.
There's more stories of greatness to help you overcome adversity. Coming up on
fight against. And if you want my opinion, I'll let it take me away. Only relief is the four on the floor and the crowd that goes, oh, turn it up, turn it up, turn it up, turn it up, oh, turn it up, turn it up, turn it up.
Here's the host of It's Your Life, Dr. James Cooley.
Hello, welcome back to the James Cooley Show. It's Your Life, and I'm just sitting here just having fun with my main man, Tim Grant, talking about mentorship. It's a lot of different ways we mentor others. It's not just the people that work for us. Sometimes it's people in your community. Sometimes it's family members.
Right.
So, but it's still the same philosophy, at least I think it is. Yes, and most importantly, I always talk about leading by example. You have to lead by example. You have to be able to have followed in order to lead. And Tim, we've been talking about several different forms of mentorship, but the form that I think that work mostly, and especially I learned this when I was a drill instructor, company commander in the Navy, is they give you 88 to recruits is what we call the train, right? So you pick them up to train. And it's only two of you, you and your partner, to train all 88 or 90 plus. I learned a long time ago that you identify leaders, I'm talking about within your group, and you teach them. And you teach them to work with the other sailors. We call that pure leadership. Because the best and the easiest way to mentor is for them to mentor themselves. You know, mentor themselves. And anybody, even in the organization, the company, the job, if you got employees that all have the same common interest and goal, you know, everybody wants to be successful. They start mentoring each other, and you learn from each other. And I think that's the best form of mentorship, is being able to just take all of the pressure off you, delegate some to others, and let them train. What are your thoughts on that?
I think that's true. But you know what? It takes a lot of courage. And if you're fortunate enough, you know, when you're a leader and you're responsible for some portion of an organization, whatever that may be, right? I tell you, it's a great feeling if you get to the point where you've created an environment where around a conference table, you can have the kind of conversation, James, that you're alluding to, and people feel comfortable enough to be vulnerable to discuss, you know, and be open with each other and how to build a better team. That's a true leader. And when you get to the point, you know, that can happen because you know the people you're working with, there's mutual respect, and you're willing to be vulnerable with each other because you're serving a common cause, and hopefully you've got an incentive program that, you know, that facilitates that. You know, that's when the magic happens. But boy, that I've had a number of instances in my career where I've tried to do that, and for some reason or another, you know, it didn't work as well, right? And you know, you take ownership of that and say, okay, you know, what could I have done differently to create an environment where people want to be vulnerable and are willing to out issues and resolve them internally, right? That's why a lot of organizations go to an outside facilitator, you know, or when we talk about teamwork, which is also mentoring, by the way, but, you know, we bring in an organization from the outside that helps to do just that, so that, you know, because of that issue of being vulnerable, and if you created an environment where, you know, people are less afraid of how, you know, that information may be used against them as opposed to how it may be used for their betterment.
Well, you hit it on the nose, but a lot of times you do have to bring an outside organization in that, you know, can better connect with the group, depending on the industry that you're in. You know?
Well, and particularly, James, you know, there have been times, I mean, you know, when I was a younger manager, I was the problem, right? I was the problem because I wasn't listening, or I was too busy trying to impart, you know, what I thought I knew, right? And you know, I'm you know, it's just a fact, you know, early on, and we talked about it before, you know, I got opportunities in leadership and management before I really was confident in securing my own job, right? To be able to be that for somebody else. And I made a lot of mistakes that I like to try to, you know, not repeat the same mistake twice, but yeah, it's a different skill. I mean, you know, we go back to the coaching analogy that we used, right? The coach never gets to suit up and go into the game, right? They've got to work through other people to accomplish their objective. And that's ultimately what I began to understand that my role was in the leadership, you know, was to work through these other people and strong, not that I was strong, but we were strong, right? And not that I was successful, but I was only successful if we were successful. And you know, that's a whole different realization.
And you know, you bring up something because, you know, coaching, team, all that. And many people get caught up in self, I, me, my. I don't think that you can win as a team if it's all about the I, the me, and the my.
Right.
In order for us to be successful in anything, I believe we have to look deep down inside. We have to formulate a team. It has to be about the we, the us, and the ours.
Right.
That's what team is all about.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And it took me, I had to grow and become more mature as a manager to come to that realization. Right. And yes, I think you're absolutely correct.
And another thing for the folks out there that's mentors or thinking about being a mentor, you have to stay abreast to current. You can't say, well, I'm gonna lead this way because that's how I always have done. That's it works this way. It always have worked that way for me. Things are changing. Technology changes. Everything changes over time. That means if we're going to be efficient and effective, that means we have to stay current, and we have to be able to adjust to change.
Right.
Change is inevitable. So I commend the leaders out there, the mentors out there, but I think that we all still need to take a good look at self to make sure that we are leading, mentoring the right way.
Right. And growing in what we've chosen to do and learning and being open to new ideas. And I kind of alluded to that in the very beginning of the program, right? I think that's what gives you credibility and confidence to be able to share with somebody else, right? If you're stagnated and you're in the same job and your approach to that job is 10 years old, you're probably not going to be you're not doing a great job for yourself, let alone being in a position to help somebody else. Because as you alluded, it's all about adaptability, right? Organizations and teams face new challenges, different challenges that come at them from, could be a competitor, it could be a new technology that's disrupting, the industry that you're in. And I think that if people continue to learn and continue to grow and evolve themselves, that's what the organization counts on. And that's absolutely critical. And a lifelong, whatever your career is, plan to spend the better part of that time in your career continually learning.
And that's what it's all about. And you mentioned the word evolve. It's going to happen because of evolution.
Exactly.
I want to thank you so much for taking the time to come on the show again, man. You got an open invitation, my friend.
Always a pleasure. I really enjoy it.
Open invitation.
Yeah.
I'd like to thank Michelle 𝐂𝐓 for putting together another absolutely fantastic show. I'd like to thank my producer, The Answer, FM 96.1, AM 1170, The Answer in San Diego. Todd, you always do great work. Most importantly, I'd like to thank our viewers and our listeners for tuning in to the James 𝐂𝐓 Show, Is Your Life. Remember to always dream big, think big, and be big at everything you do. We'll be back tomorrow. Same time, same place. Is your life. We'll see you then.
Thanks for joining us for the James 𝐂𝐓 Show. It's your life. To learn more about Dr. James 𝐂𝐓 and how you can support the show or become a guest, visit 𝐂𝐓foundation.org. Join James for more motivation and inspiration to help you become equipped today for the challenges of tomorrow. This has been It's Your Life with Dr. James 𝐂𝐓, where you learn how to dream big, think big, and be big in everything you do.
It's Your Life is sponsored by James